Hello and welcome to that Peter Crouch podcast with me, Peter Crouch, Notorious SRD and Chris Stark. How are we, lads? Regards to your families.
Regards to
everyone's families.
I think we need to start with a bit of an apology, about last Wednesday's podcast. Don't know if you saw this, and I wasn't quite aware what was going on because I was on holiday. But you had Ashley Cole on, which was fantastic. Great podcast,
brilliant.
The problem has come that the title says Ashley Cole's Inside Analysis as the podcast title, but on everyone's car screens it's coming up Ashley Cole Inside Anal. Which is a problem that I don't think we'd considered.
So this is very similar to Susan Boyle's album Pie.
It was
which is Susan Boyle's
anal bum party.
Sue's anal bum pie.
Oh,
which was obviously it was a completely above board album party.
Yeah.
In fact, it said Sue's anal bum party.
Like Ashley Cole's experience on this podcast was in the form of analysis, and great analysis of that.
Was great.
And we just need to issue a quick apology to Ashley Cole. So
is that an admin error? Is that where does that?
I think that's just how it comes up on people's screens, and then it does go on and says analysis.
But the initial bit is
yes.
Okay,
that is a very, very different podcast.
Very different.
Yeah.
Okay, well done for bringing that up.
Just thought we need to cover that one very quickly.
Yeah, of course.
Also, had a bit of an idea. Don't know if we want to explore it. I feel like we've got quite a lot on our to-do list, but I was thinking of you boys, and I'm trying to play a bit more golf, and I dream of a time where I can get to a standard where I can come out with you boys and we can have a game of golf.
We're going to do that anyway.
And it'll be okay. Yeah, I actually don't think I'm a million miles away now. Yeah. And I was thinking, like, there was this golf course I played when I was on holiday, and if you got a hole in one, you got a little prize. And I think they had a sort of bench thing at the back where you got your name on it if you get a hole in one.
Yeah, that's we got our golf club.
Yeah. I thought that was the coolest idea. I thought it was a great idea. And I thought, is this something that we could maybe do on the podcast? Because there's a lot of people who listen to this who play golf. Do we need to find a golf course that's willing to let us as a podcast, like be almost sponsor but own a hole? Do you see what I mean? Like,
I get it.
So you're trying for a hole in one and you're passing the pod. And if you get that hole in one, maybe we can write your name here in the Chumbawamba.
So what a lovely idea.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
we
get this.
We can get a bit of signage at the golf course maybe as well as a little, this is that Peter Crouch podcast hole.
There's two ways of doing this, isn't it? We can either reach out and sort of go direct through the golf club, or we could do like an unofficial one, because there's a lot of greenkeepers and there's a lot of people that work on the golf courses that are obviously there in the first thing in the morning, and they got their hoods on and they've got their earphones in, that listen to our podcast, and we can have an unofficial one.
I think it'd be nice to have that, like on those golf days where they have like a big sign.
Yeah.
Saying, if it could be that Peter Crouch podcast hole.
Yeah.
You get a hole in one, you get your name on the board.
We can have a little board or something,
tally or something like that.
Yeah.
And we'll have you up, and we'll send you, a sticker.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know what we're quite asking for. Is it like we need a golf course to agree to do it, and one that people can go to, one that people can play? That would be the dream, I think.
I think we need a little bench though as well, don't we?
It needs a little bit. It needs a little
bench of like.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Okay. Let's throw it out there and just see if anyone's listening and you are, as you say, a sort of, is it a greenkeeper at the groundsman?
Yeah.
At a golf course.
That's it.
Or have some sway or wherever it is. Let us know, because could be a good way to pass the pod, I thought.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's a really nice idea.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Getting into the pod, lads.
Yes.
Today's pod, obviously with Burnley going up, with Leeds going up, quite an exciting championship. Chris, you've watched a lot of the championship this year. I just want to talk about the playoffs, really, and your earliest memories of the playoffs. And Sid, you playing in the playoffs. I mean, what has that felt like to be a part of those? And is it a better way of going up than winning the league?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it is the wildest league in the world, isn't it? I don't think it's the best league in the world because, I think that comes down to our Friday pod, which is the best league in the world.
Yeah.
Standard. But the championship for me is ridiculous. You watch it most weeks. I think, I see a stat the other day where it said that every team in the championship was, I think with 4 games to go, could either get promoted or get relegated.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Well,
They're either or.
Yeah.
So wherever they was, they could either get relegated from that league or get.
There's so
with 4
much to
games
play
go.
for in the Championship, and
mad,
I
isn't it?
think what I love about it is even when it comes to Christmas, even if you've had a bad first half of the season, you seem to suddenly find yourself in a playoff contention.
Yeah.
And I think that makes that league almost constantly exciting. You're always in some sort of battle. I think it's actually harder to not be in a battle of some sort all season because it's such a small sort of middle ground that you're playing around with.
Yeah, I think when you're in a league and everybody can beat everyone, that it's just so unpredictable, isn't it? I mean, as a fan, you must go to Watford and go, this could be anything today.
I love the Championship.
Yeah.
It's the hard.
Do you love it more than the Premier League?
I was about to say that. Do you prefer watching Watford in the Premier League or would you prefer watching Watford in the Championship?
I like us being in the Premier League. That's a hard question to answer because you want every success for your club, right?
Yeah.
But this is the sort of dichotomy of football: is that you wish so much success for your club that you're always looking up, aren't you? You're never just content. But it's hard to be content in football. But actually, as a fan who supported Watford, where they've spent a large amount of time in the Championship, I love the Championship and I feel quite content in the Championship. I want us to challenge, but in a way, I'd quite like us to win the Championship and stay in it.
Yeah.
It sounds like a mad thing to say.
But then it's amazing watching the big teams come to Vicarage Road, right?
And that's the problem.
But you don't want to. You don't want to keep getting ironed out every week, do you?
No, and also you don't want to go up if you don't feel there is a really realistic chance that you can then challenge in that league.
Yeah.
So I kind of view it. It's a bit sticky toffee pudding, isn't it, with the Premier League? Like it's a nice little treat, and I do enjoy it sometimes. But I don't expect to have it.
You don't want it every week. You don't want it every week. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bad analogy, but it's
It's
interesting,
right.
like,
It's right.
With where that analogy just reminded me of someone sent me this golf club. There's a wife in America, right? I actually sent it on to Abby, thinking it so well. But I'll play it. Shall I just play it for you?
Please.
It's got a 9 a.m. tea time, right? So she's got up at 7:30. She's making him a sandwich. I just sent this on to Ab, bear in mind.
Around 7:30, I headed to the grocery store to get everything fresh and got started. For my base, I used this local San Francisco ciabatta and spread it with a thick layer of garlic aioli. I put that in our toaster oven to let it warm up a little bit while I sliced some red onion. Place the onion in a little bowl of water to let the flavor kind of mellow and soften so it's not as punchy. While that sat, I thinly sliced some tomatoes, laid them on a paper towel to absorb the excess moisture, and generously sprinkled them in sea salt. I wanted to add a little bit of acidity, so I chopped up some golden Greek pepper and chilies, let those dry off while I spread a thick layer of chipotle aioli on the toasted bread. I had a layer of pepper jack cheese, a layer of spinach, topped it with a little bit of red wine vinegar so it's not just unseasoned spinach. And I added a pound of smoked turkey, layered on all those red onions, the pepper and chilies, and generously seasoned it with this pizza seasoning I have. It's so good. Then I did a layer of the tomatoes and tried to close the sandwich. It was overflowing, so I wrapped it in some parchment paper to hold it all together before I sliced it. It's 4 of them, so I cut it into 4 pieces and wrapped everything in tin foil.
4 of them. He's playing the 4 ball.
Wow.
We'll see how they play today, but comment below what you think their handicaps are. Follow along to see more.
So she's got up at 7:30 and she's packed her sandwich full there. Fresh, all fresh. Yeah. You laid it out, obviously too much moisture in the tomatoes. So
seasoned spinach as well. Nothing worse than unseasoned spinach.
Seasoned it. So when the lads arrive back home from golf, they've all got their sandwich each.
Yeah.
I forwarded that on to Ab. Do you want to know the response? You can fuck right off.
That's great. Yeah.
Fantastic, isn't it?
Is that a thing in golf? Does your wife make you sandwiches? I've never even thought so.
I didn't.
Obviously not with
I'll be honest with you. I haven't thought to ask.
Yeah, I've never asked mine before.
Yeah.
Not to wake up at 7:30 to make it.
But if your wife was to make you a sandwich, what would she make you? Do you think?
No, listen, Ab's good at. She'll make me a sandwich. Like we'll get into the playoffs soon. She'll make that. She's very good like that.
Yeah,
like, if I'm on a long journey, she would have made me a sandwich, and that's really nice of her. She's good at that. I think the fact if I'm going out all day, and kind of leaving her, I wouldn't expect her to make a sandwich in that manner.
But the truth of this video is she's fishing for comments, isn't she? Like she knows what she's doing. She knows it's going to rattle people. But she has hit upon something very interesting here. Out of the 3 of us, whose wife do you think would make the best sandwich?
Oh,
What, just in general?
Yeah. If they were given free reign on what that sandwich could be. And you know where I'm going with this. I think next Wednesday, we each bring in a sandwich from our wife that's been prepared for a 3-ball here.
okay. We're going out of free ball.
Okay.
9 o'clock.
And we see what they would lovingly prepare and in
All
what
right,
detail.
all right. Let's make a note of this, lads. We're going to get 3 sandwiches brought in next week.
No, we're going to get the same sandwich cut into 3.
Well, we're each going to make a sandwich.
We're going to have 3 slices of
like
sandwich.
what she's done there. She's
Yeah.
cut it into 3, right?
Yeah, 4.
I'm going to try
She's
them all.
done 4, yeah. Can do 4 if you want.
Yeah, so we cut into 3. Yeah,
We're
So
just
basically,
three-
it's
yeah,
a little bit of a come dine with me.
It's
Okay.
Yeah, whose wife? Place your bets now. Have a little thing. Whose wife do you think will make the best sandwich?
We'll slide into the messages. Let us know whose wife makes the best sandwich.
I'm intrigued to know what, and you can't give it any clues. You just got to say, got to make a sandwich for me and the boys in the pod, and let
So you're not
them
gonna
let their
say any,
imagination
like-
run wild.
Okay. I think this is going to be tough. I think this is going to be a great standard.
Competition.
It'll be a great standard.
I think it'd be a good standard sandwich. All right, guys, little change of pace here. The next part of the podcast is brought to you by 3 and their campaign with Samaritans to talk more than football. Right, I'm going to start with a quick stat for you. You know, 2/3 of football fans struggle with their mental health and don't feel as if they can talk about it. So 3 and Samaritans have set up this campaign. I think it's for the Chelsea Spurs game. They're going to put black cabs on outside Earls Court and West Brompton Tube Station to go to the games, right? And the cab drivers are actually trained to talk to people in the correct manner to help them.
It's a good idea. This is a really, really neat idea.
Yeah.
And so you're part of raising awareness about this.
I've been trying to help with promoting it, but I mean, listen, that's quite an alarming fact, really, that people don't feel, and I felt the same way. You know, like I think certainly in football and around football, you always feel like you have to kind of be the strong one to man up, and kind of I've always dealt with things inwardly.
But I was about to say quickly, it's mad because you actually think men that go to football, that's like their safe environment. That's an environment where they probably feel like they can open up or speak to their mates because they're with their best mates, or they got a season ticket, they see the same person every other week, or so there's people that they can probably confide in, but just don't feel like it needs to probably come out there. But really, it's probably the best place.
No,
to
it
probably
should-
come
it
out.
should.
Well,
do, but-
it falls under this bracket, which we've been talking about on the podcast quite a lot recently, of things that feel like they could be embarrassing to do or feel awkward, but actually everyone sort of feels the same. And the second you have those conversations, or, you know, what we've been talking about recently in regards to sort of, you know, my diagnosis and men's health, actually what I've seen from the response on this podcast is there is such an outpouring. There are so many blokes that do actually want to have these chats. It's just we're really kind of British and blokey about not having those chats. But people do want them.
Yeah.
I've received so many messages personally, and it shows people are wanting to talk. I feel like when I go to the football, I go with my best mate and have gone for many, many years. And actually, of late, I've really looked forward to going to the football because stuff... Until I started talking about it on this podcast, actually. But before then, I felt I could confide in him, and actually being at the football and watching the game was kind of like a nice place to have that conversation, because there's something going on and you're actually watching the football. But I think it's a bit of a responsibility on all of us to kind of ask, you know, if that conversation isn't happening, to maybe take the first step and maybe just speak to your best mate. And that's what's so good about this taxi driver thing. It's encouraging that conversation to start.
And it is the first step, isn't it? Once that, like what you just said there, and you've nailed it, once that first conversation was had, then it's like sort of barriers open. Then it's a sort of, you know, it can go on and escalate to however far or deep you want to go into it. It's just that first initial hurdle. Get over that, and then it's much more comfortable.
I think sometimes as well with your friends, you feel like you're going to be judged, but you know, if you get in a taxi and speak to the driver, it doesn't matter kind of what you say. You know, that's going to be left the minute you exit the cab, but it's off your chest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also I don't know about you. You know, when you get in a taxi, you can't help but ask the same questions. It's like it's that Peter Kay thing, isn't it? It's like what time do you
you on till?
Yeah,
what time you on to?
yeah.
You know, what time do you start?
But also, when you get into a black cab, you just feel at home. You feel like you're on like your sofa at home. Then you just feel at ease. You're having a chat, and you feel like again, it's a safe space. It's
Do you know
somewhere
what
you
I
can
did
have a
this
chat.
when I was doing this, right? I spoke to a cab driver, top man by the way. But you know, there's an etiquette in a taxi, right? Where this is something I never even thought of. When you enter a taxi, if you sit diagonally opposite, they know that you want to engage and have a conversation. If you sit directly behind the cab driver, they don't speak to you.
Well, even if when you get in a cab, people do that subliminal. Like I would,
You wouldn't know you do it. But you go, do you know what? I'm going to sit behind him, so he can't see you.
Really?
And then they know not to speak to you. Whereas if you sit there, you're open to engagement.
Wow.
Even little things like that, I thought was really, really interesting.
Yeah, and I like this because I think anything, and a lot of us say it, but like it's good to actually practice this as well. And this feels like a very practical way of doing it. It is better to talk to people, not just for yourself, but for the small chance you start a conversation for someone else who needs to talk, but is finding it awkward to do so. Yeah. So I feel like we're doing a lot of good on this podcast at the moment,
100%.
and starting these sorts of conversations. So it's nice to keep it going with this. And this is a good thing you're involved in, Peter Crouch.
Well done.
Thanks, guys. I know the campaign is to talk more than football, but bringing it back to the football, what was the lowest kind of you felt in your football career?
Yeah, I think during my career, and I'm exactly the same as you, you've got highs and lows, and the lows you probably kept to yourself, but mine was obviously when I retired, because it wasn't on my terms, and you know, I certainly felt like I had so much more to give, but physically and health-wise, it just wasn't there. So to finally, when I made that decision, battling the injuries, the two spinal surgeries, and to finally have that decision sort of made for me, was a massive weight off my shoulders. And I think I explained it on one of the podcasts, didn't I? I was sort of sitting there, I was sort of in the ensuite talking to my wife, she was in the bath, and I remember just sort of like sitting down and going into that real deep conversation. And I think it's more and more becoming prominent now that you can have them conversations, not just with your close ones, but obviously with your best mates, and especially seeing high profile footballers like we are, or like we were, but like the current footballers now, because they're heroes, you know, and the platform that they've got, and if they're coming out doing it, and people watch it going, well, if he can do that, and he's helping him, or he's seeing someone and he's not afraid to say it, then it's got to be good enough for me. So I think it's now becoming definitely more mainstream and resonating with a lot of people.
For anyone really struggling who needs to talk to someone, you can always call the Samaritans. The phone line is 116 123. If you want to find out more information, visit the 3 Talk More Than Football website and the 3 and Samaritans social pages. Don't be afraid to talk more than football. But talk us through, like, Sids, I want to get into your playoff experience. I haven't had any playoff experience. I mean, I started in the Championship and I kind of finished. I had a season half a season in the Championship with Stoke. Yeah. But my earliest memories of the playoffs, I remember watching it with my dad, and there was a few early ones, but the 4-4 that the Sunderland, Charlton, Mendonca hat-trick, that was, for me, that was a serious playoff memory. Yeah. I don't know do you remember that one? That was
he scored a hat-trick, didn't he?
He scored a hat-trick that game. And it was, I think it was Michael Gray who missed a penalty. Yeah. And it was a bit of a power to puff end to one of the most sensational games of football I think I've ever watched.
Yeah, I remember that. I do remember that. It was the Mendonca hat trick, and then it going into penalties. And then what was the Nicky Weaver one? Do you remember when he saved
Gillingham, Man
City? That was another one.
He saves it and he kind of does a funny little dance and runs away.
That's it, yeah, like the wavy hair.
And that was kind of Paul Dekoff scored, didn't he?
Yeah, I think that was the first time where it was big crowds, wasn't it? Because everyone that got into the playoffs there took, like, for instance, Charlton wouldn't have had couldn't have filled 45,000, but they end up somehow, these teams end up taking obviously family and friends, and it just, you remember seeing blue. It was like FA Cup final day, wasn't it?
Well, it felt like
Everywhere.
to me like that was the first time when I watched that final. I ended up thinking at that time that game was almost bigger than the FA Cup final to me, and that was the first shift in league football being bigger than the. I don't know,
but that's what makes, for me, this is what makes that whole system so special, and it is the major difference between the Premier League and the Championship, in that you get into the playoffs, right? So you have 1 and 2, you get promoted, and you have your celebrations, everything like that. You finish 6th in the league.
Yeah, you got a chance.
You could go to Wembley for a final.
Yeah,
it's such a strange situation that you're ending up with a cup final day, like an FA Cup final day. By finishing 6th in the league.
And normally the teams that finish 3, 4, 5 and 6, there's not a lot between them. You can throw the balls up and you go, any one of them could go up. Unless someone's just, I remember Palace went up one year and they was nowhere near sort of in the hunt to go up, but they just had a massive back end. I think Ian Dowie might have been there. A massive back end to the season.
I think that was when, was that even the year we played them in the final, I think, and lost 1-0. I think that
was that Andrew Johnson kind of era.
It was a Kevin Phillips goal, I think, wasn't it?
Was it Kevin Phillips? Might have been.
Do you think that there's something that finishing 6th, whereas the 3rd are disappointed, the 6th are buzzing? They're on a high. And
totally.
and that psychology of just missing out on automatic promotion to just sneaking into the playoffs.
Yeah, so that happened.
And the bounce and and obviously the fan wise, it's like the disappointment of missing out.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, if you don't go up now, it's gonna be a disappointing season.
Yeah.
Whereas if you finish 6th, the fans are like, if we go up now, it's gonna be the best season ever.
It could have been 8th or 9th. For most of the season, and still get promoted.
Unbelievable.
You get into that. You get that 6th spot last couple of days. That's the thing. The Championship's so tight and it moves, and it's that. I mean, that is the one thing I would say is also just in terms of the playoffs. It's such a disruptive season. It feels like it's hard surviving the Championship because you lose good players that you have potentially in January. You as a club find it hard to kick on from year to year because you lose players in the summer. So you're lucky if you start the year with a team that come out all guns blazing. To get into those spots post January, it feels like teams level themselves out. It's hard for teams to commit to keeping big players. And it's kind of a problem with the Championship, because you want that team identity and you want to feel that if you're supporting your team that it rolls through a whole season. But it's also kind of the magic of it as well. It's so unpredictable. And I love that I've seen Watford have a terrible start to the season, some seasons, and then you find that you're kicking on and potentially going up from that position.
Yeah. We had that scenario when I was at Brighton, and we played Borough on the last game of the season. We was always up there. I think it was us, Burnley, and Borough. It was out of, sort of the 3 teams that was going to go up, and I think we played Borough last game of the season, and we needed to win. I think all they needed was a draw, and anyway, we lost. I think we either drew or lost, and they went up. So they were celebrating on the pitch. But like we just said there, it was a case of you've done all that season. I mean, I only got there in January, but you could see that you've done all that season to then go to lose at the final hurdle, to then go, you got to try and regroup yourself to go again the next couple of weeks. We ended up playing Sheffield Wednesday in the playoff, in the semi-final. And we went to Hillsborough and we lost 2-0 in the first leg. Three of the lads come off injured. Me, Anthony Knockhart, and someone else. Might be Connor Goulton or someone. And then we had the replay at the Amex, and I've never heard an atmosphere like it before the game. Yeah. It was one of the best ever. And we come out the traps, went 1-0 up, absolutely pummeled them. Really? Oh, like you couldn't believe, thinking we've got to win this. They didn't know what hit them, and then they obviously just scored a goal. Like they scored, and where it just this whole stadium just went, just deflated. Yeah, like gone. So it's really hard. It's really hard to pick you to be so close, and then pick yourself up again to go again. But like everyone says, there's no better way to go up
No,
other than the player. And the best one to speak to is Bobby Zamora.
Oh, well, I was just about to say that. I was at the Bobby Zamora final, really.
Yeah.
With QPR, I was at a lot of friends, QPR fans, you know, and we went there, we got a box and we all went. We had such a laugh. My mate's pub, he's a big QPR fan. We had a few beers there. We went to the game and it was amazing because Derby battered QPR the whole game. And it was one chance and it just landed to Bobby Zamora and it was the exact finish that he scored for West Ham as well. And but to score 2 goals like that, and we've spoke to Bobby about it, like to score 2 goals like that. I mean, it's nothing bigger really. Like it means just as much as scoring 2 Champions League final goals to those 2 teams. It genuinely does, doesn't it? And QPR and West Ham. Huge. I mean, it's huge for both of those clubs to go up, but to do it at the same end, the same ground,
same finish,
in the same finish,
that is insane.
Yeah, I'll tell you a quick story that night. We ended up back at the pub, and things kind of went past 11, as they sometimes do. And I remember the police came to the pub, and I remember a fella whose pub it was a good friend of ours. He's a lovely fella. He said, right, everyone's staff. Obviously, if you have a staff after party, it's not a login.
And you were all working in.
We were working,
sure.
yeah. But obviously, we were all pottering around working.
Yeah.
But obviously, I think he might have recognised me. I think I was
rumbled.
I think I was playing for England at the time. I said, well, he doesn't work
you can't
here.
do the dishes.
I said, well, I'm helping out. And they went, all right.
No way.
Keep the noise down.
Carry on.
It can't be as simple as that.
Brilliant. You got the mop in your hand, just like
Someone
mopping
said,
up.
you know what, keeper, I've just gone up and everyone's really excited. And it was good as gold. But I did have to mop out, yeah.
What happened? There must have been a reaction when they walked out. You must have they must have come back in. Or now.
Yeah, the minute they walked out, went back to sing, oh, Bobby Zamora.
No way.
Oh, Bobby
Just very
Zamora.
quickly, so the pub that you were working in, what was your job role? It was.
I was, well, I'll be honest with you, I was hiding for a while. And then I got spotted and I just got up and turned the tap on.
Yeah.
So I was pretending to wash some dishes.
Washing dishes, yeah. We should update the Wikipedia for that as well, you know, because it was a job.
Partial to washing
It
dishes.
was a job for a brief period of time.
Certainly partial.
For the playoffs, what is the pressure that comes from the club in terms of, there is a huge financial win, obviously, in terms of getting up and making that jump.
Yeah.
And suddenly you enter into this playoff position. So yeah, it's a great day out from a fan's point of view and the place is bouncing, the Amex is bouncing. Do you get a different sense that the club are getting involved a bit more than they were before? Or?
I think it's the most nervous time for a football club, definitely, because the financial gains is massive. You definitely feel a shift in it being a business period. They try and make it all about the football and try and get you relaxed and, you know, shift into gear in terms of getting your mind right and prepare and take the pressure off. But you can feel like, because most training grounds have got the offices there and you can just feel as though that it means much.
They're a bit busier, or are you incentivized more?
Yeah, it just
or
feels
you offer
like
different bonuses at this point?
No, because you all know that beforehand, and you know if you go up, then whatever the chairman might take you away or pay for you boys, like for the boys to go away on holiday, or like there's all them sort of discussions. But you just feel as though that it becomes much more like business orientated. And then I think when you get to a playoff final day, you ask the fans, it's nervous. I think for every fan, because it could go either way. It's flip of a coin. 9 times out of 10, whoever gets to the playoff final, it goes either way. Look at Leeds last season, lost out to Southampton. Well done for them this season for bouncing back, Chumbawamba and going straight back up.
What other walk of life, right, do you have 90 minutes? And I'm talking from a business point of view here. Obviously, it's amazing for the fans, but from a business point of view, if you're the owner of that football club, right, there's one 90-minute match, right, and you can receive 100 to 120 million or not.
Yeah.
Think about that in a business perspective, right? If you've got a business, right, what's your business said? You know, your office equipment.
Yeah.
You've got 90 minutes, right, to make an impression, and you get 100 million.
I know, yeah. That's crazy.
It's a nerve-wracking. That's what it is to the
and it's out of your hands.
It's out of your hands, but that's such a good point, Crouchy, because it's out of your hands, but yet you still like it's people that you own, like they're your staff.
You put them in. It's your employees.
I know. And how mad is that?
And you got to
out
sit
of
and
your
watch the
hands.
game. It's mental.
You got to sit there and watch it. Yeah, man. Unbelievable.
But do you not have? You see, at that point, I know you've got contracts, but I would have thought the chairman suddenly does want to offer or some, you know.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because you feel as though they wants to come in and really incentivise you to go, boys. We've got whatever one game left. If you do this for me, like I will give you anything you want. That's what they're kind of basically saying.
Does anything change, Sids, when you go up to the Premier League? Like, obviously you must celebrate that win. You know, I remember going up with Norwich, but I was only there for a 3-month period.
Yeah.
They won the league. You know, I was a part of that, but you know, I went back to Villa, so missed it all and didn't see the pre-season. I mean, what's that pre-season? Like?
When you go up, so obviously
it's a big buzz.
When we went up with Reading, record points, record goals. You ride the wave. It is the best off season you have because it's the first, especially for us, because it was the first time. I myself, it was the first time playing in the Premier League. So playing against players.
When does it switch though to work mode?
I suppose it would be just before pre-season, a week before pre-season, because I think you're still enjoying the summertime, right? The fixtures have come out, so you've seen the fixtures of who you support, when you're playing against them, who you're playing on Christmas Day, who you're finishing. You know, is it home or is it away?
First game's always important, right? As well.
That's
Liverpool
where
away,
you
first
start.
game,
Well, our first game was
that.
Borough at home, so we see that and you're thinking, like, got a chance of starting
getting
right.
off to a flyer, right? Because you don't want to keep the season going without getting a win.
Yeah, but it starts getting exciting, I'd say, just before pre-season, because you can't wait to get back, as you normally can't do, to see the lads and get up to see what everyone's been up to in the summer. And then you're thinking, this is a big season for this football club and for me. I want to be a part of this. I want to play every game. I want to start the first game of the season in the Premier League. I've never worn the Premier League badge and I want to wear it.
Oh yeah, that's great. And how much fear do you have about, and at what moment does that fear, if it exists, kick in about keeping your spot? Because you assume going up to the Premier League, there's going to be big changes.
It was a bit different when I was at Reading because we didn't buy. We bought, I think, 1 or 2 players.
And did they say quite early that was going to be their position?
He was like, listen, you boys have earned the right to get here. I'm going to give you the opportunity.
Oh, you see, that's class as well, isn't it?
So straight away.
That's massive, isn't it? Imagine being told that. Did you get told that before your summer as well? Because that probably keeps you in shape a bit.
No, we got told that pre-season.
Yeah.
Pre-season.
We're still thinking, someone's going to come through the door. Again, going back then, there weren't, although we had a good owner, Sir John Medeski, he wasn't throwing loads of money at it.
Yeah.
And Steve Coppell, the manager, was like, listen, boys, we've had discussions. This is the squad. I'm going to bring 1 or 2 in because I feel as though we can achieve something really well this year. And then it summed it up in the first game. We were 2-0 down against Borough at half time. We ended up winning 3-2. And that really just, again, you're riding the wave. Like I really thought that was going to happen with Ipswich this season. You know, they've got back-to-back promotions. And then I thought they're just still riding it. A lot of these players have probably never played in the Premier League and they're going to just love it. They're going to love it. And then the gulf now is huge. But a lot of people don't know that in that first season in the Premier League, we finished 8th. Yeah. Reading, 8th. We missed out on Europe by a point, I think. In Europe.
That is amazing, isn't it?
Crazy, isn't it?
Gone up record points and then you finished 8th.
And didn't spend. I think we spent 2.5 million. So 2.5 million quid. And we didn't
That's
fear.
the chairman's dream, isn't it?
Oh wow.
Let's be honest. That is,
it was unreal.
You know, he's not gone ridiculous in the Championship.
Yeah.
He smashed it.
Yeah.
He's not bought.
No.
Only gone 8th.
Yeah.
Potentially in Europe.
And do you know what? We didn't fear no one that year. Honestly. We went into every single game just going toe to toe. We didn't sit back. We just went toe to toe. We played our normal football, getting the ball wide, getting bodies into the box.
Did you feel like a Premier League team, or is it hard to shake the feeling that you're a Championship team first season in the Premier League?
You always go into it knowing that you're the underdog, and I think that
that's
underdog
good sometimes.
Yeah, that underdog pressure is great because there's more pressure on every other team because they're expected to beat you. We beat everyone. We beat Man City. We beat Spurs.
Go on.
We drew with Liverpool. We drew with Man United at home. We got beat by Arsenal, but yeah, we went into every game and we was in every game. We never got pumped. I don't think in one game. So there's a fine line though, isn't there? Of trying to. We've seen teams come up that spend money, that, you know, bringing new players in, then it doesn't work out, then it becomes a yo-yo, to not spending a lot of money and being... The golf now is huge, I think. It's bigger now. I think teams that come up now, there's a big... Even though they're big teams, there's a big golf.
Well, I think the problem is the teams that are coming up, they're trying to mix it like you were there, you know, Reading, you know, and I think it's too open, it's too expensive to get picked off. I mean, that's what happened with Ipswich and Southampton.
And Leicester.
And Leicester. You know, they kind... And I think the difference between some of the kind of, you know, certainly the Stoke team that I played in, we're playing a totally different sport to them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're literally making it horrendous for them, you know, and football's football, right? You got to do anything you can to win games. And I think they tried to play the top teams at their own game. But they're top teams for a reason. You got to unsettle them, and I think that unfortunately wasn't the case this season, and that's why they find themselves back down. But I think the teams that are coming up, Leeds, Burnley, will learn from that. Yeah, and I think they're starting from a good place. Certainly Burnley, with the defensively, they're fucking sound, and I think that's where you got to start when you come up to the Premier League. You got to be solid.
Crouchy, do you think the playoff trophy could be better?
100%.
I think that as well.
It's crossed my mind lots of times. You know, when you see the ice hockey boys lifting that thing, do you know what I mean? That is a big old trophy, right? I mean, that ice hockey thing, is it the Stanley Cup?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, surely the playoff, it's the richest game, it's been billed as the richest game in world football.
You wouldn't know it from the trophy, would you?
You wouldn't know it.
Should be the richest trophy in the world.
I'm not proposing like that FIFA one where you need a key to unlock it. I think that's... We're getting a bit silly there. But I think a big old bastard of a trophy would be good.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it needs a rebrand.
I agree. Was you there? Was just all about the championship and goals. Was you? I think we've definitely spoken about this before. But was you there? Troy Deeney's goal.
Yeah, I mean, like,
because that only happens for me in them playoff games.
But that's an unbelievable moment, right? And hugely famous. And to go from a penalty that wasn't really deserved, I think even Leicester fans would agree, it wasn't really deserved. Nightmare situation for your lad, Knockout. Yeah. To go down the other end, Deeney to score in that fashion. But you got to remember that it was a semi-final and it was an amazing moment, but the final was shit. Yeah. It's so frustrating that you can have that moment and the end result not be that you're promoted from that particular time. Yeah. And also, I think we've spoken about it before. I think we've spoken about it with a couple of them Leicester players. I think when that moment happened to Leicester, you know, a lot is said about how Watford went on and, you know, got through to the final with it. But when you look at that Leicester team and the players, I think Kane was on the bench, by the way, for that. I might be wrong. I think Harry Kane was on the bench. What a turning point that was in the mentality of Leicester, you know, what an experience that was, what a regroup they then had, and then look what they then kicked on to do within a very short time.
Do you think about that team? Was Nigel Pearson the manager then?
He was, yeah.
And then, like, just after that, they're not long after that, they win the Premier League.
Imagine and that's what I mean. They've had a massive...
that is unreal.
That game and that moment...
You don't really get knocked like that.
That's what I mean.
And they've won the Premier League in not long.
And I'm not saying that that's down to one game or that one moment, but I think that, you know, that was such a harsh, wasn't a harsh way to go out, but I mean, it kind of was in many ways. It wasn't an unfair way to go out, I should say, but it was a brutal way to go out, to miss a penalty and to watch. I can't imagine the players had a great sort of few weeks off the back of it. But under Nigel Pearson, most of that team, you know, it was a good team, go on to form this Premier League winning team. And you do wonder the effects sometimes that those moments, even in a playoff, might have had, you know, on the flip side. Yeah.
The question I'd like to ask Scott Parker and Neil Warnock, I think they're the only two managers that got promoted 3 times with 3 different clubs. Is there a blueprint to doing it?
Well, we had Neil Warnock on the podcast. It was an amazing episode. If you haven't listened to it,
really.
Please listen back. And actually, for all his reputation and you know, it was very insightful into his mentality in these situations. And I also think clubs and fans at certain points need the right manager to rally around, and there are certain ones who are known as championship managers, I think, and actually it's should be worn as a bit of a badge of honour, I think, because to navigate that league or be that kind of manager that can have a team firing towards a promotion spot is a big deal.
Well, just to sum up, right? The three that came up last year are going down.
Yeah.
Leicester, Ipswich, Southampton, Burnley and Leeds. I think will fare better. I'm not saying both of them can stay up. I think one of them can stay up.
Yeah.
I'm going to put my long neck on the line that one of them stays up. I wouldn't like to pick who.
Which one?
No, I think it can be done, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I think the playoff team might struggle. I think those two have been deservedly the best.
Yeah.
But this is the big question of the championship, isn't it? It doesn't feel great that the teams that go up will come straight back down. We would like to feel, I think, as a football league structure, that teams can get promoted and stay up there.
The thing is like, I look at the teams kind of above it at the moment, right? Tottenham will be better next year. They're down there at the moment. Wolves have got. They've been on a really good run. Everton were in and around it this season. West Ham. They're all big clubs and strong clubs. Brentford, Brighton, the others, Villa, Newcastle, they've all gone to new levels now.
Bournemouth that struggled. Forest that struggled last year,
Brighton.
done well,
Teams, they're strong teams.
Yeah.
And that middle half of the league now, that is the issue. It's not, there's been a slight drop off maybe at the top end as well, but that middle of the league now is really, really strong. And who goes down other than the three promoted is the problem.
And this is the criticism, is the gulf now too big? I'd like to think it isn't, because I think the two, so far the two teams that have gone up are brilliant. I have played brilliant in the championship. If you've not been following them, as you say, defensively, Burnley, they really, I really think they stand a very good chance of staying up.
Just quickly, another buzzword, golf. Where does that come from? Is it the ocean?
Yeah,
because if you're going to choose an ocean, you wouldn't choose the Gulf. Is what do you know what I mean?
It's a very good.
Well, on the golfing class, it's too big.
Yeah, it should be the Pacific is too big.
We should call it, and is a golf a fair way to describe it? Like, should it be described as a wide channel?
Yeah, the channel's too big.
I think the channel feels like a fair.
But I was going to say, if you're going to go, isn't the Pacific the biggest ocean? If you're going to say a sea,
You've
why
convinced
not
me.
pick the biggest one?
Yeah.
Well, I believe so. I mean, don't quote me if I'm wrong.
I see what you mean here. It's a bit like saying the Solent between the Championship and the Premier League.
That's what I'm trying to see.
Getting a bit too big now.
That's what I mean. So you're saying that maybe the Gulf isn't as big as the Pacific. It's just the Gulf at the moment.
Golf.
And we need to hold on to that, because we don't want it to become a bit
big.
too
Yeah,
Pacific.
All right.
Would prefer it was the Bristol Channel. Fucking hell.
All right, messages. Crouchy, Bonfire, Chumble, one ball.
God, there we go.
Whoa.
Quite like that, to be fair.
quite good.
It's quite a good one. Regards to your families. Following on from the rivalries chat, specifically the garden-related one from a couple of weeks back. This, however, isn't as classy as the artistic approach that the listener took. Now, I don't know where you boys stand in shared lawns in front of your house, but growing up, we always alternated with our neighbour, taking it turns to cut the full patch. However, since moving into my house with my missus 5 years ago, my neighbour here has taken a different approach and religiously only cuts his half. Now, I realised I could have just asked him if he wanted me to cut his half. However, I've taken the more petty approach and just leave my half as long as possible before cutting to get full impact on how daft it looks. It's gone so far that now Neil, my mate, celebrate the first cut of the year when my neighbour gets his mower out in spring. I've attached a photo for reference. All the best, Steve. This is going to be good. Look.
Oh, this is
Wow.
Look at that.
But what is the point of doing that? Like what?
Wow.
Like surely it's the whole thing.
It's a shared, just to paint a picture here, it's a shared lawn in front of a house, right? So there's no fence or any sort of dividing line between it, except it's assumed one house on the left, cuts their grass to halfway, and the other one on the right. It's insane.
It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, but like very, very funny.
I love it.
Very funny.
Look at it.
But what is this? What's the legal situation here with a shared lawn? Like, are you allowed to shave another man's lawn?
I
don't know.
I think you could get a knock on the door.
But I think the problem is here, it's only one lawn, right? So
Yeah, I think you could get a knock on the
Exactly.
door. I think someone would be marching around going, "Oi, don't you touch my grass."
But is it your grass? Like, it's such a strange situation, that isn't it? If I came round, right, and cut your front lawn,
Some people will be buzzing with it.
is that no different to me? It can't be a crime doing a generous thing, can it?
no, but you know what? Here, I think it needs a little fence. I think.
But that's going to cause a war, honestly.
think?
I've got this actually where I'm renting at the moment. There's a tree, and there's like a little stick tree, and they said to me, like, that's your divide. You can
look after that tree.
You can cut up. Your grass goes up to that line of the tree. So when I cut, it looks exactly like that picture. Sometimes when I cut the grass, the next door neighbours is long. And I'm like, should I?
But it's the same. It's the same grass.
It's the same
with your
grass,
neighbour.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's the tree. The tree's the divide, and
So you're shaving up to your border, but then leaving your neighbours.
leaving it bushy.
But does your missus look after that tree? Because what would happen if you came home and you saw your neighbour trimming Chris's bush?
Yeah. What would you do? It's fraud. Like, I feel like this is one for a lawyer, though, isn't it? Isn't it?
It's got to be maintained. It's got
Does have to be maintained.
Yeah, I see. The
You
bush has
don't
to be
want that.
maintained.
You know,
Steve
don't want it
trim as well.
Don't want it creeping out of control. But you want to be the person trimming it.
Some people might like it. Some people
people
might
do
look out the
like
window.
it.
No, some people might look out the window and go, Bob's cutting the lawn today. That's nice. Cheers, Bob. Like,
Also, it's part of the problem here. Like, we're assuming the guy who shaves his lawn or mows his lawn is in the right? But as you say, Crouchy, the fashion's now to grow it out anyway. So who's to say that cutting it down that short is the right thing to do anyway?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Depends. We're going through different trends at the moment, aren't we? Seeing a lot of mullets flying around at the moment. It is so, but also everyone's got busy lives at the moment, right? And there's so much shit going on in the world. Imagine having to stress and think about it every day about the battle of your lawn with your neighbour.
People
like
do
this.
though, mate.
It
Really is a thing out there. But if you do have a lawn battle, if you have a garden battle, please get in touch and send in some photos because we really enjoyed that one. Okay, hi Notorious, Crouchy and BBQC Plus. Regards to your family. Sorry to send in another 11 so soon after the skiing 11. Oh, it's a skiing 11.
great.
But it becomes very addictive trying to fit footballers' names into topics of the pod's weekly ramblings. After Wednesday's loyalty pod, I put together what's the worst thing you've had thrown at you 11.
Great.
Yeah, because obviously we chatted about that.
Yeah.
And did we get to the bottom of what the worst thing that was thrown at you was? I think mine was a boiling hot pizza, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Straight on my cheek, and it singed my cheek. Probably the worst thing that I've had.
Yeah. No. I'll come back to you. We'll come back. I'll come back to you.
Did we find out? What
Yeah, I'm not sure. We were meant to give it some thought, weren't we? I've had a few things thrown at me over the years, but there's not one that stands
Not
out.
one
as
springs to mind.
Pod-worthy.
Well, let us know because the goalkeeper here is Andre Thronana. Now you got Destiny Udogi. Is that Destiny?
Dodgy.
Dodgy.
Destiny Udogi. Ledley Fling. Throne Hargreaves.
Oh, my God.
That's the best.
Darren Chuckerby. Steve Sling as well. Hoy Keane. Leandro Tossard. Bolo Zenden.
Yes.
Lobby Zamora. Torre Andre Throw.
Yeah.
Mavia is Fabian Herzler. Cheers. That's Dan, the Sunderland fan. Who did skiing 11.
That's good, that.
Yeah, keep them coming in. We love the 11. And we'll see you next time.
Excited for the sandwich battle next week. Excited for that one.
It's going to be
Battle
good.
of Sarnies.
Yeah. All right, Chumble Wumble, everyone. Petr check your balls.